Unarmed and they cannot fight back. Who? I don't know. The things that hunters shoot. Anyways, this old green truck just went by out here because this is where I watch, the daily news. And just to see what's timed with what. Because, you do get messages by synchronicity and you got to watch. And, when, certain trucks go by with something on the side, well, it's a message for you. Anyways, the old green truck went by. And the old green truck, there's only one thing it always refers to these days, and that's the end of people who are devils. Well, it's just because I was talking about a certain someone who is a known person who goes out and kills, moose and deer and, birds and ducks and things in hunting season. And right when that person was being talked about, one of those old green trucks went by. It's just that, Brent Beeson, the devil, who terrorizes me, was told when I was staying at the Seaview Motel one day, when he was being especially, terroristic to me. Every day's like that. But he was told on that day, by God, that he would be put on a mechanic's crawler, and there would be a vehicle there, and the rear wheel would be spinning at 65 miles an hour, and the terrorist would be on that mechanic's crawler and would be pushed into that tire going 65 miles an hour head first, with that person's head being ripped off their neck and, going like a bowling ball down the parking lot of the Seaview Motel. Well, that's where I was staying, where I was being tortured. They didn't capture me physically, a bunch of people, and physically put me in the Seaview. No. With remote neural monitoring, they do it all within your own body. Torture you right within your own unit. No muss, no fuss. Anyways, that's what God told those terrorists that would happen to them. And today I was talking about a local outdoorsman, hunter kind of person. And immediately that particular old green truck that has been told to Brent Beeson, the devil, that is where he's going to lose his head. That thing drove by at that exact moment, synchronistically. So, messages from Spirit, if you are a hunter and you go around shooting unarmed animals, no defenses, then what are you? You are a terrorist to those animals, and you're a terrorist to people like me. That is terrorism. Hunting is terrorism. The other flip side for you people is one of these chase scenarios where the 1% set you loose. You're the fox and they're going to chase you. Star Trek, the original series, the Squire of Gothos is an example of a crazy lunatic who likes to do things like that. All the crazy lunatics are being rounded up. And every crazy lunatic is going to face themselves. If you've been, taking out all kinds of animals, hunting, then, you are going to have to pay back that karma. You are going to be the unarmed, and something that is armed is going to be chasing you and shooting you with intent to kill you. And the revenge of the chickens is something else. Because there's going to be a revenge of the chickens. How many chickens have you eaten? There will be a revenge of the chickens. I can help you out because I've eaten a hell of a lot of chickens too. So I don't know It's the chicken's revenge. How many chickens get snuffed out every day? Is it humane the way they're snuffed out? You're going to say, I don't know. Well, that's the whole issue, isn't it? We have an unregulated killing industry that specifically goes out of its way to hide the dirty details of what goes on with factory farming and slaughterhouses. I don't know, every time meat is advertised in a flyer or on TV, there should be, before you see that, there should be pictures of the slaughterhouse and the factory farm where the meat came from. As part of your purchase, you should have to watch the animal killed. Unfortunately, it might desensitize you, and then you might start thinking that killing is okay, and next thing you know, you're going to start hunting humans. This is desensitization, and this is the problem with giving people these options of, do you really want to know? Because they become infatuated with watching slaughters of animals. Starts with animals, then it becomes people, because we know how these things happen. It seems like we have a big problem on our hands, don't we? And then it becomes a forbidden fruit thing, is like you make meat illegal, and then people go out of their ways to surreptitiously make meat. Maybe they're just going to look around and say, I don't have any farm animals in my city, but, there's a lot of people that, I could just, grab and, put into a trap house and, I can't help you out because humans are prone to evil. Anyways, the only solution is to get the hell out of a world full of people who are under 540 on the scale of human consciousness. It's the only path that makes any sense, is to get the hell away from evil people. And this is planet Purgatory. Purgatorial realm, according to David R. Hawkins of Consciousness Research. And don't remember that he co-wrote Orthomolecular Psychiatry, a textbook. He co-wrote it with Linus Pauling, who won 2 Nobel Prizes. So David R. Hawkins is linked with the Nobel guy, for Linus Pauling, and he co-wrote a textbook with David R. Hawkins, who was recognized, if you look at his bio, all over the world by movers and shakers as a real teacher of spiritual enlightenment. He's no flake. He was a psychiatrist and a spiritual teacher, so there's no pulling the wool over that guy's eyes. I'm not so sure. Probably he would say, even for him, an expert eye, that there are people. But, why? Because, I don't know. Why am I talking about shit? Because it's nothing to do with me. It's me being hijacked by remote neural monitoring. That's what herky jerks me around and makes all this horrible happen to me. Evil people are targeting me. I'm a targeted person. Is that enough? I don't know. It's just horrible because they're constantly sending horrible directed energy beams at my dick pic. Because that's what they do all day long. All kinds of stuff. It's just a horror every day. The 3 days of darkness that QAnon people were talking about is for 3 days when they turn on remote neural monitoring on everybody on the planet. And everybody on the planet finds that day they can't go to work. And that day they can't go to the grocery store. And that day they have a hard time peeing. Because they got out of bed and they're having a hard time getting out of bed because of the nerve. It makes you sick to your, and they terrorize you. Anyways, you go to the bathroom and you sit there for 2 hours because the remote neural monitoring has targeted your urinary tract bladder sphincter. And by remote control, they squish it. They just clamp it down. How do they do that? Dr. Ho. Remember Dr. Ho on TV? The same principle. They use electronic pulses and they crimp that sphincter and by remote control, and you cannot pee. Because you send a relax to the muscle signal, and the muscle says, yeah, I know you want to relax me, but something else has got me, Dr. Hode. And you can't pee. Because that sphincter for your bladder, it's like it won't release. 3 days of darkness of them showing off this remote neural monitoring torture machine. It's a horror because, why am I going like this? Because they send an energy at my hand. It makes my hand feel like a foreign hand to the rest of my body. It feels like somebody else, a rapist. I've done these videos before. Every day, over and over again. Go back 6 months. Every day, over and over and over and over again. I haven't had a free day in 6 years. 6 years of being under this attack. And everybody who's my so-called friends and family, no one wants to help me out in my hour of need when I'm being tortured. Basically, I need a place to live and I need somebody to do food runs for me, because now I go to the Safeway in the middle of Safeway by remote control. Remember, like crimping off? Well, the other thing is, going around and playing with the muscles inside my, my colon creature. I don't know. They want me to shit my pants in the Safeway. Every time I go to the grocery store, that's what they do. They're working on it. They want me to shit my pants, so I need somebody that's going to do grocery runs for me. It's a horror. I can't help you out. Anyways, do you not think that people, when they're caught and exposed, that they should not be executed in a wood chipper? Some horror. I don't know. Public hanging? Well, that's what's scheduled. Because all of these people are going to be put to death. And I don't know. Some of them, I don't know. Everybody who's involved with this knows. Because they know at a soul level what the penalty is. Maybe their ego level, there's a lot of people who are going to be screaming and crying and putting on enormous emotional displays of weeping and wailing and gnashing of their teeth when the Space Marines grab them and say, hey, you're coming with me. And this person who's used to, having them being yes, sir, and no, sir, and, yes, ma'am, and no, ma'am. But because there's people that are sirs and ma'ams that are used to being sirred and ma'am by other people who are going to be grabbed by Space Marines and are going to be hauled away to their execution. Because there's a lot of people whose ego think that, even if they know about the torture and they know who's doing it, they just sat on the information. Anybody who's been sitting on information leading to prolonged torture of other people, you're an accessory to a crime. And the crime is terrorism, and being an accessory to terrorism is a capital offense. In other words, you're going to hang by the neck until you're dead, or you're going in a gas chamber, firing squad, lethal injection, death by chipper. Osama bin Laden was taken in a helicopter 8 miles high. Remember that song by the Byrds? 8 miles high. Roger McGuinn is a great song. Listen to that song today. 8 miles high. That's the theme song for today, because that's what they do. They play that song, 8 miles high, and they put Osama in that army helicopter, and it goes way up, as high as it can go. I don't know if they go 8 miles high, but they go as close as they can to 8 mile mark. 8 miles, something about Eminem. And at 8 miles, they push Osama bin Laden out of the door of the helicopter, and Osama, with no parachute and no winged suits, goes splat into the Arabian Sea. That's what happens to terrorists, and anybody who's somehow affiliated with terrorism, anybody else is going to, they're affiliated with terrorism, accessory terror, hang them. You're going to say, shoot the bastard. Don't give it to a bunch of our neighborhood old men, I don't know. How many old men? I don't know. Vigilante justice, you want to go that way? The answer is over and over again, I don't know. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Anyways, because I don't know how this is going to play out. People who are gnashing their teeth and crying and saying, it wasn't me, or I knew, but there was nothing I could do, or I was just following orders, are going to go to some place called the 8 Mile Strip, and where Eminem lived, and people are going to have to remember. Lose Yourself is a second song of the day. Lose Yourself by Eminem. Because you got one chance in this lifetime, and this is live. This is not a warm-up to your real life. In other words, what you've been doing in this life is what you will be judged on. And Dr. Martin Luther King didn't say, don't judge anybody. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, judge people based upon the quality of their character. He did. He said, judge people based upon the quality of their character. He said, judge them. MLK. He did. So the rest of you can go away. You will be judged. You will be judged. Just think about it logically. You're judged at work. You screw up. You screw up enough times, you're written up 3 times, you're out the door. You think God is any different? God is a tough judge. He's a jealous God. He says, you got to be fit for heaven. If you're not fit for heaven, you get a chance in purgatory, planet Earth. I don't know how many times. If you're my cousin Tom Wally, 120 lifetimes. To get it right, still getting it wrong over and over again, because the person I'm talking about, I was talking about, the great hunter and fisherman, was talking about earlier in this video is Tom Wally. Tom Wally, when I was talking about you, that truck, that old green truck from the Seaview drove by on Arthur Street. God is telling you, Tom, either you change your ways or you're going to have horrific punishments. Horrific punishments because you've been killing unarmed beings. You have been terrorizing unarmed beings. They have no protection from your rifles and shotguns. No protection. And the penalty for terrorizing beings, because they are sentient beings, they know what's going on. Well, I can't help it. You're brainwashed into thinking they're supposed to be for us to, have our sports with. I can't help you out. Times are changing, and either you're going to change with the times or you're going to wait. I don't know, because I don't know if this is a future thing and this is already set in place, because I don't know. Synchronistically, that's what I saw, and I've seen that truck multiple times because it was parked behind the Valhalla when I was staying at the Valhalla. And Brent Beeson and King Clancy, the people, that's their phony baloney names, their aliases, pseudonyms. Those are the devils that come through and torture me because God had them look at that particular green truck, that old green truck, and look specifically at that back wheel. Over and over again when they've been torturing me, and over again looking at that truck, and they know very well it's over and over again. It's the Seaview Motel and a crawler and having your head taken off. 65 miles an hour that thing is spinning at. This is the way it is. I can't help you out. That's the story. And that's the God's honest truth as I've experienced it. So take it or leave it. Those of you people who are involved with, terrorizing unarmed beings like chickens at the Safeway and beef cows at the Safeway. And the fish and the seafood and the lamb and the pigs and the turkeys. You name it. Does it mean I've got to have a lot of Carmen Miranda from being a meat eater for so many decades of my life? Do you get bad karma if you didn't know about it? Okay, well, let's say a kid is 5 years old and the parents are meat eaters and they serve up meat and they say, with my dad, it was like, I'm not hungry, Dad, and Dad would get kind of angry. Eat your, I have good money to put on the food. Put food on the table, you eat it. I'm not hungry, Dad. I don't want to eat cream corn. It's disgusting. So sit there until you eat it. Abuse of children. But anyways, in the end, I kind of was, well, just eat the meat and don't eat the other stuff then. So anyways, well, you're like that. You don't think of meat as anything different than potato. It's just something that you have to eat because your old man is a vicious, violent person, a child abuser. Because, I don't know, when you're 6 feet tall and you're looking down at a little kid, I don't know how tall are kids, 3 feet tall? You're looking at an unarmed being. Because you're 6 feet tall and you're 175 pounds and they're 3 feet tall and they're 50 pounds. It's like you're a monster giant to these kids, and whatever you're doing, you terrorize children just because you're big. Child abuse. Child abuse is rampant in our society. because of the huge differences in size. And the adults are trained to be parents by vicious, violent people, their parents and their grandparents. The cycle of abuse, it's called. You can look that up. And they teach you that at college, the cycle of abuse. I took it in personal support worker class. It's where people are very happy and are very, kind to you in what's known as the honeymoon period. And then there is a buildup of tension to the point where the abusive person who's been, buying you things because they're your dad has an explosive, temper and a rage in the cage and does mean, horrible things to the children. Terrorizes the children for a spell and then, goes away, cools off, cooling down period, and then it's back to the honeymoon period. Come on, kids, let's go get ice cream, as if nothing just happened. That is a major child abuse, and that's what goes on. And so this is known as a generational curse, because the children are cursed, because the children don't know how to parent other than how they were parented, which was by the devil. So re-parenting skills, learning how a proper parenting is done, and then every adult should do that, re-parenting, because you need to learn how you're supposed to parent children. And then you need to reparent yourself, because you've got a super ego in your mind that is your dad and mom who terrorized you. And that is now your super ego. And that is your internal mother and father thing that viciously and violently criticizes you. It does. Because we learned that from consciousness researcher David R. Hawkins. Because he said you need to tame your super ego, because it's a tyrant, it's a vicious and violent, it's very hard on you. There's all kinds of good stuff to learn about love. And part of learning about love is having your parents permanently with you as your superego doesn't have to be. Because they're vicious and violent, and you don't need to keep hauling them around with you everywhere you go.